The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, says the anti-graft agency will not relent in combating corruption in the country. At a media parley in Abuja, the EFCC boss explains the commission's decision to prosecute former Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello and former Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika, including ways of tackling corruption challenges. Arise managing editor Christian Ogodo has the report.
Call it a treatise on the cesspool of corruption in Nigeria. The expose is not limited to political and public office holders, but to young teenagers who engage in cyber crime, popularly known as Yahoo boys. They cost the Nigerian economy several millions of dollars.
Nigeria faced a staggering onslaught of cybercrime. This thing you call Yahoo. Well, you might harassing all these small boys all over the place. It's not small. It's not small. 2022 alone, I'm waiting for the report of 2023. We discovered that more than 71% of Nigerian industries, companies and firms fell victim to cybercrime. More than 71% of these companies you see in Nigeria are operating. Now, which company is happy or will thrive on this kind of a thing? You want to attract foreign direct investment. The moment you come in, Yahoo boys will attack your platform. You start losing money. And you think they will stay?
On the botched arrest of the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, whom the EFCC alleges to have stolen over 80 billion naira, the chairman says the fugitive Bello should turn himself in.
Honorable Justice Issa Jamin Abdullahi, a man I respect so much and I was so smart, a man. I will read to you the last 2-3 paragraphs of his judgment. Now, without prejudice to the power of the said Federal High Court to make any other as it may deem just in the determination of the rights of the applicant and the respondent as may be submitted to to her for consideration and determination. Another is hereby granted directing the respondent to bring before the said Federal High Court. It was Kogi State High Court that directed the EFCC enforcer to go and file a charge against him as against what is being touted out there. Another is hereby granted to EFCC, the respondent, to bring before the said Federal High Court or any such appropriate court such criminal charge, allegation or complaint in respect whereof the applicant is reasonably believed by the respondent to have committed any offense, subject of his jurisdiction, provided that his respondent shall not invite, arrest, or detain the applicant on account of a reasonable belief that the applicant has committed any financial crime without first obtaining the leave of a superior court of record, which is Federal High Court, where we are filing our charge, especially having regard to the antecedent of the respondent in the manner it has managed its engagement with the applicant. We are not stopping there. It's been watch listed all over the world. It can only run.
It will not be business as usual for illegal miners in the country, as a specialized unit has been put in to rein in persons involved in illegal mining.
It's extremely important for all of us to understand some of these intricacies. Fighting corruption is not just for us to investigate and make noise, like some people want us to do. We have been doing it for years, even though we have recorded some successes, but has it really made much impact as expected? And the answer is no. In fact, it has not made much impact. Why can't we change our strategy? And that's exactly what we are doing now. And so I'm dedicating a whole directorate to undo that.
The helmsman of the anti-graft agency sheds more light on the Better Edu Gate in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation and the arrest of former Aviation Minister during the Buhari administration.
What I'm doing in humanitarian ministry is not about Better Edu. Neither is it about Alima. I've told you before, it's about the system. A system that will allow someone to access the agency's account and move out 7 billion, 14 billion under 1 hour without assigning it or directing it at any specific project. You call that a system? I told people, I said, look, the people we have suspended, if we had replaced them by now, even if you had brought saint into that project, into that ministry, in 24 hours, that saint will be contaminated. So it's not about better do place. Neither is it about Alima. Don't let us personalize these things. Don't let us single out individuals. It's about the system.
The new zeal by the restructured Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for those who engage in frauds may no longer have a hiding place as the commission spreads its dragnet to rein in perpetrators. Christian Ogodo, Arise News.
Well, Christian Ogodo, with that report, Rufai, the EFCC chairman talking tough. In fact, I would say after God, fear government. After government, very specifically, fear EFCC at this point. Your take on this story?
I mean, I'm really happy that he's talking tough. He said a couple of things. I just want to expand on some of the things. So, number one, as regards financial fraud, he made a very strong point as regards the Yahoo boys and what they do on companies. In fact, I know of a company that does a lot of risk assessments and, reporting financial fraud. They have a software that does that. And in talking to some of their clients, they were shocked to understand that in Nigeria, some businesses, big businesses, said that on a good day, they are not even surprised when they see a financial fraud of over 80 million naira. That's how bad it is. And who are the people that do? Most of these young people, these youngsters. Yahoo and everything, busting bank accounts, going to the bank system, getting money. Some don't even get reported. There are many banks that are reeling from those internal fraud systems by not even putting the measures and the system in place. And like he said, it is a system that we should now look at. The system that made it easy, allegedly, in the case of Adi Sereka, for his brother's company to be collecting government contracts, Agrinos company, and not doing it. The system that made it easy. A civil servant, level 16, that is not supposed to do any other business apart from farming. So the system that makes it porous. And it's about the porosity of the system now that he's talking about that we need to fix. It's also the system of the back and forth that you are seeing with the Kogi State governor, that when a man is called for to come and answer charges, he's playing back and forth games. And the system is so warped that you now have some civil society that are shouting, people are protesting in favor. Why didn't they protest when they were torturing Natasha Akpoti in Kogi? And you can see the way life is. Today, Yahya Bello is running away from the law. Natasha Akpoti is a senator. This was the same person he said over his dead body will never be senator. So you can see the way, when this same Yahya Bello as governor went to destroy the road so that people will not be able to do elections, why didn't same CS? So we have a very botched system that it depends on how much you can pay the piper. And people will fight for you. Very egregious things have been done. You can get an army for people to fight for you, but it doesn't stop the law. I'm not saying the EFCC do not have their blame. The EFCC too should watch their own level of high-handedness. The EFCC chairman too should watch the level of corruption going on among its staff that investigate cases. And the fact that they want to fleece other people. He said it by his own self. So he has not given us updates as regards those of members of staff that try to fleece people. So we are trying to see how it's going to clear the financial system in the humanitarian ministry. I don't think that's within his purview. He can only make recommendations for that. And the other cases he talked about, the likes of Hadi Sereka, let's see quickly prosecuted so we can get to the end of the matter. He also made mention of the Emefiele case and all of that, where he talked about it. But I also think that word is in court, so he too should be careful so there's no wrong violation of contempt of court and things like that. So, but all in all, we need to sanitize our system. And he's been given the chance now to talk back after this 1 week long of Yahya Bello in the media and all of that. There's a media game going on in this past 1 week. We know how this game is played. We are not children in this game.
All right.
Okay, Ola Olukoyede, the EFCC chairman. It's good to see him, showing so much passion and zeal about his work. He said a number of things that were very useful. He said also a number of things that could, jeopardize even his own zeal and the issues that he's addressing. Now, when he says the problem is not about personalities, it's about the system, I think he's spot on. We run a system in Nigeria that makes it possible for many of these omissions to exist, to occur at all levels, whether at the institutional level or at the individual level or at the political level. Nigeria has not evolved up to a level where you can make the proper distinctions. Number two is that at that forum, he talked about Yahoo boys, which is addressed by Section 419 of the Criminal Code, people obtaining money by false pretenses. Of course, we all see the damage that, Section 419, felonies under that section, have cost Nigeria in terms of reputation, in terms of the denigration of the green passport in various parts of the world. The only thing to do is to link what he said about the Yahoo boys to the system that he talked about, which is that, look, many of these young boys who are into Yahoo, they are products of the moral turpitude of the Nigerian society. By moral turpitude, I mean the erosion of values in society. Once upon a time in this country, if you were growing up and you were seen with something that was beyond your station, that your parents could not afford, your parents will call you and say, don't spoil my name. But these days you'll find a lot of pretty girls who are the ones financing their parents. They will buy cars for their parents, they will build houses for their parents. You have sons who have no job, no means of livelihood. They will buy vehicles for their parents will collect it and say, oh, my son has done well. So it's a system-wide thing. So at that level, I think is very correct. However, he also told us that the EFCC has created a risk and control department that is going to look at everybody, from the State House to all the agencies of government, very fine. When he says that, he's expressing commitment, he's expressing determination. Now, but on the individual cases, I think that in that press briefing yesterday, Olukoyede called together editors, bureau chiefs, and all of that, Well, I guess naturally, in response to the barrage of criticisms of the commission in recent times, there is a strategy that Olukoyede should use warily, because it's a double-edged sword. He is the investigator, he is a prosecutor, he cannot be a judge in his own jury. And as a lawyer, he should know that he cannot mount the pulpit on cases that are already in court and then begin to sound like a pastor. If there is a case that is already in court, allow the court to do it. I mean, as a lawyer, he has the basic training. That doesn't have to be explained to him. Because I thought that in terms of some of the details that are in court, or that will be matters in court, it was sounding prejudicial. I give two examples. The first example will be the Yahaya Bello case. He said he phoned Yahaya Bello as governor. He told him to come to his office, but Yahaya Bello said investigators should come to his office. Well, didn't need such details within the public domain, because it's a thing that Yahaya Bello's lawyers can contest in court and ask him to provide evidence. And, documentary evidence, maybe by hearsay or whatever, or electronic evidence, that will provide an opportunity for serious legal fireworks. And then he said, they sent an invitation. The Yahaya Bello team is saying there was no formal invitation. Okay, so was Yahaya Bello invited? Was the warrant of arrest issued while there was a pending interim order of injunction? These are issues that will be discussed in court. So, he must avoid the error of trial by media. He also told people at that event that Yahaya Bello spent $720,000 to pay for school fees using government funds. If that is in the charge sheet, that's a matter for the court. It's not a matter that you take to the media court. Because what was there yesterday was in that particular instance trial by media. Let the lawyers deal with the issues. The EFCC chairman cannot act as a judge in his own case, because now the public will run with the narrative and say, how can somebody send $720,000 to a university to pay ahead government funds? Which university will accept $720,000? I wonder. Because even here in Nigeria, when you get small money and you go to your child's school and you say, okay, can I pay for 2 years? They will tell you no. Pay when it is due, because they are hedging against inflation. If a foreign university, I don't know which country it is, or a school, you tell them come and collect $720,000, they will be obliged to report to the authorities. So whatever authorities, foreign authorities are involved, we also take an interest in this matter and ask which school in our jurisdiction collected money up front. And there will be cases about money laundering and all of that. So, all those details that are in court, Olukoyede has been at the bar for so long, he should know that he cannot take the matter and begin to try it in the public domain. But he made some other issues, cogent issues about Better Edu and others, saying that, look, he's not after personalities. He just wants to clean up the system. He even wants to probe the State House, and he's been given the leave by the president to go ahead. All of that is fine. Now, personal matters should be left out of this. I also thought his statement yesterday saying, if I can try Abdul Fattah in Kogi, Kwara State, if I can try Willie Obiano, if I can try the professor of geology, if he doesn't need to say all of that, that will amount to personalizing the matter, and that if Yahaya Bello is not tried, I will resign. He doesn't need all of that. What is important is for Yahaya Bello to appear in court and for the lawyers to do their work. So while it's important that he's communicating, engaging with the public, he must be careful with the fault lines. That position is not a pulpit. It's a position governed by law. That, I think, is important. He says Adi Sirika will appear in court, next week. Well, again, the matter should be left to the court to determine. It's about due process. Media trial is a no-no. And journalists also should be careful how they report some of these stories so that you don't get involved and get accused of persecution. Let the law take its course. That is what is important, in my view.
All right, well, talking about prevention, this is one of the things that the EFCC chairman had highlighted. He said that if we do not strengthen our systems and prevent incidents whereby an individual who has the trust of the people in power is able to transfer huge sums of money or award contracts that do not go through due process, as in the case of both former Governor Yahaya Bello and former Minister Hadi Sirika, then we have a big issue on our hands. And so one of the things he said is that they would be investing in preventions and ensuring that they have systems that are strengthened. Beyond a faulty system that we have, and we can see that across boards with the level of cases or the kinds of cases that we've seen in recent times or even for a very long time, is also a challenge or a cultural deficit. I say this because if you do not change the culture whereby people elevate and praise people who have money that you cannot account for the sources of, then we wouldn't have people who are interested in the persecution of people that they consider their heroes. Because as long as their heroes can give them 5,000 naira or spend a little amount on them, then we'll continue to encourage and push the culture of impunity. Beyond that, I also think there's a big thing to be said about naming what it is. When we use the term Yahoo, which he talked about, and that is a big problem. He said Yahoo and that fraud cost the country about over $700 million, and that 71% of industries are affected by these fraudulent acts. In fact, we have culture, popular culture, music, movies, making and highlighting and using Yahoo to sing, and people are laughing about it. It's almost become a career path for young people, and we've sort of accepted it. Call it what it is. It is a criminal activity, and people who are engaged in it are criminals. They are fraudulent. They are fraudsters. And so when we call them, maybe we should do away with that term so that it doesn't glamorize the term, and call them what they are. They are costing businesses and they are costing the economy, especially with regards to the reputational damage, a lot. So I would suggest that, so in my view, at the end of it all, after all that has been said, one of the things that we must do is to invest in strengthening our systems. If not, like you said, bring all the agencies, ICPC, EFCC, everything, ECC, you will still continue to find cases like this if we don't strengthen our systems. We'll move on very quickly to our next story. United Capital, a fast-growing financial company that is into investment banking, asset management, and other related services, recorded massive profits in the past year, putting smiles on the faces of shareholders as they smile to the bank due to increased dividends. Arise correspondent Godfrey Eshemoge has more.
This is the 11th annual general meeting of United Capital PLC. The report, as of December 31st, shows a total revenue accelerated by 71% year-on-year to 45.9 billion in 2023, from 26.9 billion naira earned in 2022. And the shareholders too are smiling to the bank with a total 10.8 billion naira as per 1 naira 80 kobo dividend. All these are in the face of the harsh economic times.
It's indeed difficult times in the economy, but there are opportunities even in difficult times, especially in the stock market. We've seen a lot of opportunities, and as our performance profoundly point to, we perform much better, much higher returns, despite the state of the economy. So it's a time, I would say, people should invest in winners that they can identify.
United Capital PLC assures prospective shareholders of plans to roll out new services.
We have grown from 4 to 7, and the last one happened to be the bank, the digital bank. Part of what we intend doing with the bank is to contribute our quota to the financial inclusion within the ecosystem of the financial services industries. We want to increase the wealth for our shareholder, and I think we have been consistent with that. In terms of growth, as highlighted earlier, we have grown from 4 businesses to 7 businesses and still count. A couple of years ago, we were operating in Nigeria. Now we're in Ghana. We are closing up with Cote d'Ivoire. So for us, we are in for the game.
The company also assured shareholders and Nigerians of a profitable year ahead. United Capital PLC is a leading pan-African financial services institution focused on leveraging technology to empower businesses, individuals, and governments with excellent financial services. Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
Well, congratulations, United Capital. Other news making the rounds this morning. The federal government yesterday officially launched a new set of fiscal incentives to rejuvenate Nigeria's ailing oil and gas industry, stressing that it aims to attract about 10 billion naira in investment between the next 12 months to 18 months. The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday approved the sale of additional foreign exchange to eligible bureau de change operators at 1,021 naira to the dollar, below the current market price. This was the 4th consecutive intervention since the Apex Bank resumed support for the segment under its current management. On the foreign scene, the Senate has passed a long-delayed $95 billion foreign aid package that includes military support for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. President Joe Biden is expected to sign the legislation into law on Wednesday. Tesla reported a 9% drop in first quarter revenue on Tuesday, the biggest decline since 2012. However, the stock jumped in extended trading after CEO Elon Musk told investors that production of new affordable EV models could begin sooner than expected.